Hello and welcome to Fueling Around with me, Jason Plato, and my mate who always nicks my airflow, it's Dave Vitty.
Fueling Around is powered by Adrian Flux. As the UK's largest specialist insurance broker, Adrian Flux will tailor a quote to your exact needs and help save you money on your car, your bike, or even your home insurance.
Now, don't forget to press subscribe on YouTube so that you never miss an episode, or press the follow button on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts from. I'm getting the hang of this after 10 seasons, aren't I?
Strong start, JP. Strong start indeed.
So, how's things?
I'm good, thank you. I'm very good. How are you? Are you tickety-boo?
I am. I'm enjoying this wet weather. Apparently 29 this week.
So I believe. I've already brought my shorts out of retirement already for this season, right? So now this season normally lasts from, I'd say, April through to October is my normal short season, right? And we're already in there already, right? And there's no going back now. Even if the weather gets cold, longies are retired.
Well, our special guest today, he looks smart in a pair of shorts, let me tell you
I
that.
bet.
Well, I mean, I don't remember, but it was a long time ago, like 40-odd years ago, I remember him in shorts. So anyway, our special guest today. Well, he's a gentleman that I know very well, and have done so for many years, like I've said, about 45, in fact. He's a 4-time IndyCar champion, a 3-time winner of the legendary Indy 500, and quite simply, one of the most talented drivers of his generation. It's a shame he's not much better looking, otherwise he'd be a triple threat. It is, of course, the one and only, my old mate, Mr. Dario Franchitti. Hello, pal, how are you?
Hi, JP. How are you?
I'm very good, thanks.
Dario, thank you very much for joining us. It's a pleasure to meet you and have you on the podcast. We're going to talk about your career in some, extensive way very shortly, but it's fair to say you've had a few scrapes along the way during an exceptional career, I hasten to add. But when you look at the scrapes, how many would you say have been the direct result of my esteemed colleague, Mr. Jason Plato?
I mean...
At least one.
Okay. I mean, pray tell.
Oh, God, the problem is any ones that involved JP weren't generally at the racetrack. They involved a lot of alcohol. I tell you, the biggest, because obviously I was over in America racing, JP was over here doing the touring car stuff, and we'd meet once a year at the Autosport Awards, and it was absolute carnage.
Yeah, I've been. They're a mess, aren't they?
Oh my God! And back in those sort of late 90s, early 2000s, with Marino, with the Wheeler boys, and Richard Burns, Robert Reed, Colin McRae, and
Thompson, was he involved?
Oh, without a doubt.
Oh dear. Yes. I mean, the list goes on.
Were you there when we had the chest fire incident with some random? His chest went up in flames.
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah,
was he wearing no extinguisher?
Well, Colin was there, and somehow he just ended up getting some quite flammable alcohol on his because he was like showing off his chest. Just random in the bar at the Metropole, and Colin set him alight, and up he went. God bless him, Colin McRae. He was. We all owe him a great debt of gratitude for showing us the ropes. Actually.
Oh, he was a life and soul, wasn't he?
Yeah, wasn't he just? So I don't think we've actually had any scrapes on track, have we? Really? I mean, we've had the odd bingle.
93 we raced together in Vauxhall Lotus, didn't we? You were with Martin.
Oh, yes, I was with Martin Donnelly, yes.
Yeah, and I don't think we had any on track.
No.
Which was good. Aye. I think which is unusual for you, I think. Most yes, I mean...
You were doing great until that last little comment then. But Dave, see, isn't that nice to see?
It is.
No scrapes, see? Mutual respect.
It is. Just the off track scrapes that no doubt may be reserved for another podcast.
Oh, whose wedding was it in the Cotswolds we went to?
Oh, good Lord. Graham Taylor.
It was GT's wedding.
Wasn't it? Do you remember?
Yeah.
There was a scrape or two there, wasn't there? Hey?
Yeah. This is the brilliant thing about this kind of life we got to lead is the other side of it. There was a very, very serious side, but there was, oh my God, you got to not only meet but hang out and become friends with some absolute lunatics. And yeah, it's lovely to look back. I'm going to do what you did at some point and write a book, but I think mine will be as sanitized as yours too.
Well, yes. Well, do you know what? I took the decision to make it popular to sell rather than to be, like an autobiography. So there's not a lot of racing in there. There's a lot of hijinks and fun.
Yeah, I loved it. And I showed you earlier before we went on air. I have it over there.
Very kind of you. But anyway, look, Dario. Now, we are going to obviously talk about your career as a whole shortly, and do all the early days of which which will be great. But I want to bring you back to a certain point in your career, and it's fair to say that in these days or leading up to this, I was concentrating on UK motorsport. You were concentrating over there. We lost touch for a bit, so I wasn't really. I'd catch on TV. We lost touch on the phone, all that sort of stuff. But take me back to Houston in 2013, because I can remember watching that and thinking, Jesus Christ, and we all feared the worst. But and it was the end of your competitive racing career, and it wasn't the first shunt you've had, but this one was particularly graphic. So when you look back at it, does it ever get easy to watch? Do you ever look at it and go, God, that's me in there? And do you ever get an overriding sense of gratitude that you are still here and in one piece?
Yeah. The interesting thing about that shunt, first of all, is that I don't remember anything about it.
Really?
Yeah, the last thing I remember was my friend Albert and his wife Hillary's wedding 3 weeks before.
Wow.
Everything up until that point is gone.
And has that improved over the years, or it's still just a block of
No,
gone?
it's just a block. I mean, I remembered a couple of things that was these tiny little bits like this should have told me something about the way the day was going to go. But I was in the pickup truck to do the parade lap and wave, and the driver of the pickup truck shut the window, and my fingers were in the bloody door. I remember that. I remember the heads, the little earpieces you wear in an IndyCar with G sensors in them.
Yeah.
To measure how hard, if you crash, how hard you hit your head, and it had become disconnected, and it was hitting me here, and it was annoying me in the car.
Yeah.
Apart from that, I don't remember anything. And then I remember probably a couple of weeks later, about a week later, I remember flying to Indianapolis on a wee hospital plane.
So that's best part of a month, just gone.
Just gone. So, of course, probably like you, I don't like to watch my accidents.
No.
And I think I'd actually retired by that point. It'd all been sort of made official. I wasn't coming back. It was done. And I was watching something, I think it was like a documentary or something they were doing, and they wanted me to sort of proof it, make sure it was all true. And I saw the shunt. I was like, whoa, Jesus.
Yeah.
And of course, then you go, hang on. You wind back and you start watching, and you can see the suspension of Sato's car brake and all that stuff. And but it was so long ago that it's funny. I think about it every morning when I try and get up and I try start walking in the morning because of the right ankle's all metal now because of it. I have a bit of a shuffle before I can sort of everything gets warmed up. So I think about it, but I also, to your point, Jason, I am massively grateful every day. Honestly, it's every day because I lost some great friends in the sport, and so it's definitely a double-edged sword, that one.
Stuff like that, Dario. Obviously, it wasn't your first biggie. I mean, for me, it's a difficult one to watch, and I'm sure it must be tough for you to watch because it's so dramatic. But there was other ones before. There was the one, in 2000, I think it was, where you went airborne, and I've seen the onboards of that. Those sort of crashes, when you are a driver, how does it change your approach? And by that I mean, when you have something that really, really scares you and changes your approach to things, does fear come into it and that sense of your own mortality? Is it therefore harder to overcome than say, the mindset when you were a younger man and for want of a better term, fearless?
I've always had a healthy respect for what we did. And I've always had that sort of, even when more so actually when I was younger, I was a bit more risk averse.
Okay.
After the shunt in 2000, that was, I broke my pelvis and I mashed my brains up. That one took longer to get over. In fact, I still suffer from side effects of that one today. Okay. So that was probably the hardest one to get over, and the fear of getting back in the car. That lasted for quite a long time. And because my brain wasn't working at full strength anymore, I couldn't process the fear. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then when time went by, I kind of actually became less risk averse, and I was able to shut it out. And as Jackie Stewart would call it, mind management. And I was able to sort of overcome not any fear, but I was prepared to risk more than I ever thought I would.
And was that at Homestead?
That was at Homestead, actually.
Yeah.
That was a cracker.
Dave, have you ever been to Indy?
Have I ever been to Indy? No, I haven't. I've seen it on the TV. I've never actually been in person.
Mate, I watch it as religiously as much as I can. But I went for the 100th running. What was that, about 5-6 years ago? Dario, something like that. Honest to God,
more than that, JP.
I couldn't believe my eyes. I was upset would be probably too strong a word, but not far off that. Watching them go into turn one, where I was stood at one point, it's off the charts because they're not glued to the road. The cars are moving around.
In what way? Just because of the sheer speed?
Yeah, the energy,
right?
The absolute energy and the trust that. Correct me if I'm wrong, Dario. When I'm racing, I distrust most of them, apart from maybe 2 or 3. You can't do that in IndyCar. You've got to have mutual respect and trust because the consequences are, A, they happen so fast.
Yeah.
And they're monumental because the cars are on the edge, Dario, aren't they? Yeah. Really.
Why? I mean, Indianapolis, if the wind, whatever direction the wind's in, if you're going into the tailwind, if your wind's behind you, you'll be backing it in like a motorbike. Running a corner, 240 miles an hour in qualifying, just sort of. And it's funny, you sit and talk about it now, and you're like, at the time doing it, you're just like, more, come on, faster. And now I watch it, and then one of my jobs I work with still with Chip Ganassi Racing as an advisor, and work with the drivers, and there's times I'm sitting there watching the data, just going, oh dear God, it's
honestly, Dave, you've got to go. It's a bit like the TT.
Yeah.
It's a life affirming, changing experience. It's unbelievable.
This year I'm going to TT.
I'll see you there, Dario.
Nice, Dave.
Honestly, not been before.
Never been, because it always coincided with Indy going into
of course. Yeah.
And I said this year, because I want to see John McGuinness, right?
Yeah.
So
me too.
Right, and he's just, I want to see him ride. So Marino, Joe Macari and myself and a couple of others are going to head over and watch that, because I think IndyCar, as you've said, is pretty mental. But the boys that race on the roads, I take my hat off. The ultimate respect. Their skill level, their bravery.
Oh, yeah, I think they are very brave.
I remember it was a couple of 3 years ago, JP, when you first went?
Yeah.
Something like that. And I can remember you'd gone, and I'd not been since I was a kid. My mum's family from the Isle of Man, so I went years and years ago when I was little, but I'd not been as an adult. And I remember JP coming back, and I said, how was it? How did you find it? And obviously, like yourself, this is somebody who's had a long and esteemed career, essentially, with the world of speed and racing machines.
Oh no!
You came back,
mate! No! That's not fair to say that in comparison.
Okay, but you know what I mean. And you came back and you sort of said, honestly, it scared me, because you said it was almost as if it made, with the greatest respect, it almost made sort of what you did, JP, in terms of racing cars, a bit like driving to the supermarket and back, by comparison to just the danger level.
Without a doubt, and the same I felt when I went to Indy. I literally couldn't believe it. Because the telly's great and it captures it, but when you see it and you feel it and you hear it, oh my God.
You used a great word there, the energy.
Yeah.
The energy of it. The energy of any, if you stand at turn one at Silverstone now and all the F1 cars go through, or, Donington going down to to Redgate with the touring car boys or something, you go, whoa.
Yeah. There's a lot going on, isn't there?
There's a lot going on, and that's that energy, that concussion in the air, almost that noise, that assault on the senses. That's what TV doesn't give you.
So look, we go back a long time. I think probably the first time I met you is at Rowra, which is up near Cockermouth, near Carlisle, that sort of place.
1984.
Right. Well, I started racing at Rowra 81. Obviously, I'm a bit older than you, which you can see. But tell me,
It's because you're more mature, Jason.
do you know what? Can I write that down? Because that's going to come in handy as time goes on. But tell me, how does a young Scottish lad of Italian parentage end up being a professional racing driver? Was there any of that in the family before?
So, actually, up there, I've got a picture of my dad racing. It was my dad's hobby.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to go to Ingliston and watch him racing Formula Ford, and he had an F2 car in 1980. So I would sit there and I'd look all day in the grandstands at Ingliston and just watch. You know, I fell in love with the sport there. Of course, a typical thing. I had a little motorbike, and then.
And how old were you?
I was 3 when I had the motorbike. Exactly. Yeah, and then I got a little go-kart. I think for my 5th Christmas.
Right.
It's a blow with I think a Briggs & Stratton engine or something. Anyway, the cool thing is I've got it back. My dad found it from a 40.
You got it now?
Yeah, he restored it, and
Wow.
he brought it to Indy. So
hand luggage, obviously.
Exactly. So I was doing the pre-race filming. They wanted to do some filming for the pre-race, and they wanted me to walk into the garage with the 8 cars, the 4 teammates, race car, spare car. So I walk in at the far end, and they say, right, walk down towards the camera. So I walk past all the cars, and my cars are at the end. And I get to the end, and I'm right next to the camera, the looking tough thing. And get to the camera, and I stop, and I said, right, what now? And the guy said, look back. And I looked behind, and between my race car and my practice car was my little go-kart I had.
No way.
Brilliant. I started crying.
Did you? Did you recognise it immediately, instantly?
Immediately.
How brilliant.
So that was I loved that wee car. I loved driving about in it, and then I started racing motorbikes, and I was absolutely shit on a motorbike.
See, I didn't know that. After all these years, I didn't know you race bikes.
Oh, absolutely terrible. And only did a couple of races in that. And then my dad said, do you want to try go-kart? So I went to Lark Hall.
Yeah.
And Louis had organised it. Louis DeRest had organised the kart and everything. And I remember that first time, it was yesterday, that feeling. It was 100cc. I was 10 years old. That little 100cc, and off I went. Of course, no lead on the thing.
Yeah.
And you're flying in this car, and it just felt, it felt brilliant. I loved everything about it. And it just felt right, whereas the bike had felt all wrong. And that was the start of it. And that was the start of those, 6 years of racing karts and. Racing, you're at the track and in the class up there with your mum and dad, and DC's there with his mum and dad, Alan's here with his dad, and
it was great camaraderie. What was it? Not just between us, but
the families.
But the families. Everybody got on. There was barbecues. There was shit. There was fun. There was hijinks. There was.
There's a lot of competition as well on the track. There was a lot of competition, and occasionally, some of the dads took it a bit too seriously. But you see what these parents gave up for their kids. Those people I mentioned, and there's hundreds more, and what they gave up, and how we went racing, and it was a bloody good time to do that, and that led to the chance to go and race for David Leslie.
Yes. God bless him.
Yeah, exactly right. And mum and dad, dad remortgaged the house to find the money to do it.
And that was in Formula Ford?
Vauxhall Junior.
Oh, it was Vauxhall. Oh, of course it was, yes.
Junior, yeah.
Vauxhall Junior, yeah.
So I've got the car back at the house.
No way.
I've got 2 cars at home up in Scotland. And so I did that.
Actually, can I just interrupt you?
Yeah.
Dave, this is a beautiful story. Tell Dave about your dad's old 911 Turbo. This is beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
So when I was a little boy, I mean, I've loved cars my whole life, as long as I remember. Like, I adored them, and my whole, I've always loved Porsches. I've always loved red 911s, and I think it stems back to my dad. In 1980, he bought this red 911 Turbo, and it was he was a second owner, but it was pretty much a new car.
Yeah.
And it cost twice. My mum informed me it cost him twice what the house was worth. Anyway, he kept it for a couple of years, and he sold it to, that was sort of the start of my racing, and he sold it. Typical usual story, business
to help fund.
To help fund, but business wasn't going quite as well, and he sold the car, and I wondered what had happened to it, and I was reading Classic Car magazine, and there was a red 911 Turbo on the front cover, and I went, there's no way. There's no way. And I'm looking through, and it's got the same colour interior, the sort of the dark brown dash, and I'm thinking, it can't be. So we did a search on it, and it was his car. How so funny. It went to an auction. I shadowed it to the auction. Got a friend of mine, Mark Sumter at Paragon, to bid on it, buy it.
Yeah.
And then Marino was in on this. My wee brother.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, Marino knew all about it. So we started this restoration process. I mean, every nut and bolt in this bloody car.
And what sort of nick was it in after all those years? It's still in nice nick, or did it need quite a bit?
Rough.
Was it?
A bit rough. So it was a full resto.
Resto, yeah.
And they did a brilliant job on it. Anyway, I stuck a car cover on it in the garage up in Scotland, and walked in with my dad, and my mum was there, and my dad's best friend Davey, who used to sit, and him they go driving in this thing back in 1980, and in the garage, and he was like, he literally said, "What's that?" And I said, "Why didn't you take the cover off?" And and
did it have the original plate on from way back then?
I got the original plate back from DVLA.
Brilliant.
And
isn't that beautiful?
Marino went to his friend Dominic Lancaster and got the original Lancasters of Colchester window sticker.
That's where it was from, was it?
All the way from Colchester.
No way.
And so he absolutely.
I bet.
It was such a cool thing to be able to do and see his reaction, and he uses it. He never takes it out the wet or the salt, but he takes it to the golf course. He's got a bag that covers the passenger seat, and he puts his golf clubs
to protect the seat. I love that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So
isn't that gorgeous, Dave?
It's a lovely, lovely story. And actually, I was going to ask you a bit more about your dad, Dario, because obviously you said at the beginning in terms of the origins of how you got into this. You obviously were into cars from the year dot, like all of us. But obviously, your dad, it was his hobby, was racing, and I suppose that was. Do you think, in a way, your dad was like a lot of fathers? I think, when you were kids growing up, was your dad in many ways living his racing life through you, perhaps?
I think in karting, potentially. My dad, as a karting dad, was not the best. He was a little highly strung, and I think now looking back on the film,
I can relate to that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
but the financial pressures that. My dad was under,
all of us.
It was not, for the. Now it's ridiculously expensive, but for our parents, they were like that, trying to afford this racing business, and it was they're giving up all the weekends, all their time during the week doing that.
Holidays, the lot all went.
It was life. That was and that. So it was interesting, as I say. It was. Got occasionally, had an occasional booking from him, and then when I drove for David Leslie, he literally, it was this transformation, and he went. He said to David, "Right, there you go," and once I can remember him making a comment from that day until the day I stopped. One kind of And I said to him, I was leaving, I'd made a mistake on one of the IndyCar races. And I said, "Oh, geez, Dad, I really screwed that up, didn't I?" And he turned round and he said, "It wasn't your best day, son."
And that was it?
That was it. He was, and I'm really proud of my dad because he made a massive change when I became more professional, shall we say. And he was, a lot of the team owners, whether it's Barry Green or Chip Ganassi or Michael Andretti, they'll say, yeah, your dad was they should do a school for racing dads.
Oh, brilliant. So Dario, so what then takes you to the States? I mean, that's a big turn in your career. What actually puts you over there? Because presumably it would have been, well, I'm going to say the natural progression, the natural route, if indeed there is something. But in terms of the kids that you were karting with and coming through the early days with, I doubt that any of them headed over to the States, did they?
Was it not the Deutschmark? Was it DTM? It was DTM. Well, what was it? That's what kicked it off.
Yeah. So going back to, you're talking about the Autosport Awards. I won the Young Driver in 1992. And part of that prize was a drive in a Formula One car, McLaren Formula One car. But more important, that was really important. And then there was money involved. I think it was 20,000 quid at the time was the prize. But it was the Autosport guys, Peter Fubistar, Andy Holbury, all those guys. You were then their guy. They wanted to support you, myself, Ollie G, all the guys that came through. So Mercedes phoned them up. I was driving for Jackie at the time. We haven't even talked about it. Jackie
Stewart we're talking about here.
Jackie Stewart, end of the first season in racing.
Was this in F3?
Well, first of all, the Vauxhall Junior.
Of course it was, yes.
I won that championship, but at the end of the season, my dad's like, "No, it's good, son, but it's all gone." Luckily, Jackie had watched some of the races because Paul Stewart Racing had an F3 team,
and they were the best, weren't they?
Oh, yeah, really good,
peachy.
And so he said, "Oh, I want to." I think actually David Leslie said, you should look at our kid from Scotland. His name's Dario Franchitti. And Jackie's like, what kind of Scottish name? But I went to meet Jackie, and Jackie said, look, I'll find the sponsors if you drive the car. So I was fortunate enough to drive for Paul Stewart Racing for 3 years, 2 years in Vauxhall Lotus, one year in Formula 3. At the end of that, there was kind of a crossroads coming. And the chance was to do another year in Formula 3, F2, or Formula 3000 as it was.
Yeah.
And they were just looking at setting up the Stewart Grand Prix thing. But as this was happening, Mercedes had asked Autosport, we said, look, we want to reform our junior team. Who would you suggest we test? And they said Oliver, Gavin and myself. And I got in the car and I fell in love with it. And I loved driving it.
Great bits of kit back then, eh?
So cool. And they were going to pay me for, instead of hitting about trying to stick some fuel and finding money to stick fuel in the car. I was going to
it's quite a milestone in your career, isn't it? When the first check comes in, or the first offer of we'll pay you, and it's like,
yeah, how much?
Yeah, I know.
And that was a big thing for me. I didn't have anything to fall back on.
Yeah.
And I was sort of getting further into debt with the Paul Stewart Racing thing. Anyway, with hindsight, I could have handled it all better with Jackie, and I've apologised many times over the years about but anyway, I was out of contract, and so I went and signed a Mercedes contract. So I drove for them in DTM for 2 years. Absolutely adored it.
And DTM, sorry, just interrupt. DTM is German touring cars, is it essentially?
Yeah, it's German touring cars, and at that point they were F1 cars with bodies. They were absolutely mental. So I did that for 2 years, but that kind of technology priced itself out of them into oblivion. Basically, it was so expensive, and Mercedes were looking at doing this GT program with the CLK GTR. Just one of these weird things that happens in life. I sat next to Paul Morgan from Ilmore at the Mercedes Christmas party, and I'd met him a few times, and we'd always gotten really well. And he said, "What do you want to do next year?"
So let me just interrupt. Dave, do you know who Ilmore were?
No, I don't actually.
Right, there's Mario Ilian and Paul Morgan, and they were Ilmore engines, and they produced IndyCar engines, Formula One engines. I mean, and they were offshoots from Cosworth, weren't they? I think.
Yes, exactly right. They were doing Cosworth IndyCar engines for Roger, and Roger Penske was a customer.
Yeah.
And Roger says, "Why don't you come and set up a company with me?"
Yeah.
And so
which then turned into Mercedes powertrains. So Ilmore is basically Mercedes F1 now.
Got
That's
it.
to make their engines.
Yeah,
So,
they were
so very special people.
unbelievable. I saw Mario the other day at Goodwood, and so he said, "What do you want to do?" I said, "I want to go to America." Yes.
Right. So you made that choice already.
Made that choice.
You'd looked at it.
The F1 thing, I tested the McLaren in '95. The McLaren F1 car as part of the Office Sport Young Driver thing, and it had gone well. And I've got a letter somewhere from Ron saying, well done, it was great. We've got a test driver already, and so we won't be doing any more with you at the moment. And I felt the F1 route was closing.
Yeah.
And so I thought actually IndyCar would be a good place to go, and it's also probably the best shop window for IndyCar for Formula One. So Paul said, "Well, hang on, let me see what I can do." And then in January, I get this phone call from him saying, "Right, here's what's going to happen. You're going to go do a test. If it goes well, you've got
with Penske."
With Hogan. Actually.
Oh, with Hogan. Okay.
With Hogan. He said, "If it goes well, I think you're in."
No.
Yeah, Norbert's going to have to stump up some money for the engine. It'd be good. And that was it. The test went well. And
where did you test? Where was the test? Was it on a road circuit or on an oval?
No, Homestead road course.
Yes. Proper track.
Yeah. And I remember I'd been used to driving the DTM car with power steering. And I get in this thing, and no power steer, nothing. And every time I take my hand off the wheel to change gear, I can't hold it in a straight line. It's that physical.
Really? That much grip? Wow.
That much grip, that much downforce, that physical. So that was the start of that. And then of course and I've told this story before, but I've been there about a month, and I get a phone call saying from Ron's assistant saying Ron wants to see you. And then Ron wanted me to come and be the test driver at the F1 team during the week, and then fly back and race the IndyCar at the weekend and just sort of do this. And I looked at the contract, and by that point, Julian Jacoby was my manager.
Yes.
And my lawyer, Peter Goodman, looked at it, and we all went, and my mum looked at it.
So hold on, just let me stop you there. Julian Jacoby was the manager of Ayrton Senna.
Oh,
and
wow.
Alan Prost at the same time.
Wow. I didn't know that, because Julian looked after me for you and tried to get me to IndyCar.
That's right.
I didn't know Prost as well.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's mental.
Blimey, I'm gonna tell you what. That's a decent website, isn't it? You know, who are your clients?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I didn't do the deal with McLaren, and I was in America and having a good old time racing IndyCars.
Wow. So tell me your first oval test. What was that like? Because obviously us Brits, we have no idea.
You can relate to this, JP. I walked out onto the pit wall at Homestead. Homestead's a 1.5 mile oval, so kind of a medium-sized oval.
Yeah.
And
Average speed, just to whet our appetites?
205, 210.
Average,
Okay.
Dave. Average speed.
Average.
Yeah.
I walked out and Gilles de Ferran is running right.
Yeah.
Gilles, I was teammates with Gilles at Paul Stewart Racing, great pal of mine. You've had some fun with Gilles. He was just the most
Lovely, wasn't he?
Just
delicious.
Wonderful human, great driver. So Gilles going round and he's watching it, and I thought, okay, a bit quicker. I thought, okay, that's fine. I can handle this. That's good. What I didn't realise was he was bedding the brakes in.
No, shut up.
He's gone past it full noise, and I've about shit myself.
Yeah.
No way.
Dear God. And I was all at sea because I right foot braked.
Okay.
And I was talking, this was one of the great things about IndyCar, maybe the difference between America and Europe. Team Penske's advisor was a guy called Rick Mears. Rick won the Indy 500 4 times.
Yeah.
Just one of the greatest. He tested for Brabham back in the day. He was a proper guy. And Roger Penske sends Rick Mears down to kind of have a word, and hey, this is how you do this in the oval, and he kind of helped me understand it a bit more, and it got a bit easier from that point. But I did crash in my first oval race.
Dario, when you look back on the career, and this is possibly a very difficult question for anybody to answer, I would say, but what are you most proud of?
Good question.
I mean, it's easy to say, the championships and the 500s. It's the other day I was in Indianapolis with a test at the Speedway, and Chip has sold all his Indy winners to the museum. So I was to watch two of my cars going in there.
Yeah,
I was really proud.
Wow, I bet.
To do that, but
come on, what's it like to go across the yard of bricks your first time when you win the Indy 500? That must be unbelievable.
The trophies there. I mean, that's literally that's the trophies.
What's he bringing? What's he bringing?
Those are
little Bob Warners, aren't they?
Yeah.
The championship.
I thought you were going to get me a brick then.
No, I've got a brick in the house actually. So I'm most proud actually of being able to recover from some of the stuff that happened. Because at 99, Montoya and I finished the season neck and neck in the championship. Unfortunately, Greg was killed. The next time I drove a car, I had that massive accident and I did myself a proper load of damage. To come from that and the struggles of that to them winning 7 years later, to them winning that championship, and then it was 4 championships in 4 years, and 3 500s in 5 years, and it was like to get that, to be able to recover and not just give up. Yeah, I think that's what I'm most proud of. That.
So you should be, mate.
I think you're right. Yeah, when you look at the story, because it's not just achieving those huge heights, but it's also when you're starting arguably from 3 or 4-0 down, to sort of coin a football expression, and actually have to fight back. Presumably at times, were you going against medical advice?
I mean, I was really lucky as I had a team of doctors, and it was the IndyCar doctors. Terry
Trammell?
Terry Trammell, Steve Oldby.
Yeah.
And I was their Humpty Dumpty. Three of us smashed together.
Oh, mate, save that for your book. That's brilliant. That's brilliant.
But they put me back together a number of times.
Again and again and again.
And honestly, the last time, that was when I knew something was wrong, because I remember the look in there, as opposed to, right, if you do this, this, and this, you get back going. They were both looking, going, and I just knew it was different. It was, their what's the word? Their attitude was more, hang on, we'll see. So I knew I was in trouble. But as far as driving against medical advice, I tricked them into when I broke my pelvis. I was back in the car 3 weeks later.
He told them it was his penis.
Was a typo.
Just on medical report.
Don't worry, it's a typo. Yeah. So that time, and then I drove when I broke my back on the motorbike in 2003, and Trammell said to me, "I'll give you 10 weeks to see how it settles, and if it stays the same, you're good. If it settles, we're going to have to operate." So I went to see him after 10 weeks, and I was trying.
Can I just show you this, right? Right. Can you see that scar there?
Aye.
That's off a chopper bike.
Oh.
Right. Circa 12.
Ah.
Beat that.
I can show you my. Where do I start? I'm not even going to get there. So he said, look, so I did all the checks, and he said to me, right, it's as good as it's going to get. Mm-hmm. I took that to mean happy days. I'm good to go and drive again.
And what damage you done on the bike at that point?
Oh,
a lot.
I'd crushed L2, I think.
Yeah, right.
L1 was a bit broken up, and T12 was also a bit messed up. So I went and did a race on the oval the next week, and against. So if you imagine the next morning, I'm at Indianapolis Airport and I'm pre-flight in the helicopter, and I'm checking the rotor head, and my phone rings, and it's like one of those scenes like in Two Smoking Barrels. The phone rings, and I'm like, and bear in mind, I still have a broken back at this point. I'm hanging at the top of the helicopter. I'm like, hello? And it's Julian Jacobi saying,
oh no.
Julian never swears. What the hell do you think you're doing?
No way.
So, well, I'm pretty frightened of helicopters. What's this script? And he said, I've had a very irate wife and a very irate doctor on the phone.
Oh, really? They went to Julie to have a pop at you.
Yeah, and I said,
to try and talk some sense in you.
Yeah, and he said, well, the doctor said that. He said, no, he bloody didn't. Okay. So that was it. I had to go get an operation after that. But yeah, I guess driving with broken bones is a occupational hazard, isn't it? I mean, the MotoGP guys do it week in, week out.
Yeah.
So look, do you remember 17 you passed your test? I remember my first car was a VW Beetle in 90-day white. What was yours?
So I didn't have a car for the first wee while. I was sort of borrowing and stealing, whether it's my parents, whether it was a car that Louis lent me, that my aunt would lend me, whatever. And to get down to Carlisle to David Leslie's workshop. My first car that I bought was a Fiat Uno Turbo.
Oh, your Fiat Turbo, you say?
Yeah, it was, but I couldn't afford the drip.
Insurance.
The drip.
The drip.
Yeah, the drip was, so that got sold pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great expression, isn't it? It's on the drip. I love that.
On the drip.
You don't hear it anymore, do you?
No. But my next car after that was when I won the Young Driver in '92. I bought a Golf GTI 16 valve.
Ooh. Nice.
Couple of grand in prize money.
So is this a Mark II?
Two.
Mate, that's a belter.
Yeah.
So is this with the BBS wheels?
Oh no, I was sponsored by Fonmetal.
Fonmetal.
Okay.
Yeah. And so,
have you still got the wheels? Because Dave's after a pair.
Well, there's a man in Bedfordshire that's when he nicked my car because it got nicked outside Joe Wheeler's house.
You're joking?
No, got nicked outside the house in Harold, and then I got a 205 diesel.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's a downgrade, eh?
I know, but
and then what came after the diesel?
So then Derek Cook. DC.
Yes.
Derek was kind enough. I was doing some coaching with
Paula,
and he was kind enough to lend me a Alpha 155 Silverstone.
Oh, mate! Well,
nice.
That was the advent of super touring car.
And oh man, so I had that for a minute, and then I did the DTM deal. So I went from that into a
full-on Merc
C6 company car. 21 years old. And the first car I bought was a 3.2 Speedster. I used the AMG. I bought a wee flat in Scotland where I lived. Mum and Dad lived, and then went out and bought a 3.2 Speedster.
And then where did it get rid? Because that's like a. Oh.
Well, my great friend Stuart still owns it. He bought it from me.
Really?
He's still upset that I made $2,000 on it, but
he's upset with that.
Yeah, exactly right, and he still owns it all these years later, and it's beautiful.
So when did you get into the Exotica?
Well, I thought the 3.2 Speedster was a fairly.
No, but I agree. But when did you get into like?
Well, I made the mistake of selling that to buy a Ferrari, but a 348 yellow, which you remember because that was at that.
I do remember. Yeah. Yes.
Dreadful.
At GT's wedding, because I brought my 355,
That's right.
and you had yours, and we had this standoff in the car park. Like, you can't have a yellow Ferrari. Do you know what I mean? I was actually, it was a sort of. We thought we were the
bee's knees. I think is the expression you're looking for.
Mustard.
Jason?
We thought we were mustard, and he was.
I had it, and then I swapped that for a Testarossa in yellow.
And you still have the Testarossa?
No, Testarossa went, and of course, a yellow Testarossa in Scotland in the 90s, driven by a 21-year-old, doesn't stand out at all.
No. That's not going to attract attention, is it?
No, not at all. So then I took...
Especially when you look like John Reddick, the Elephant Man. It's not going to go anywhere, is it?
No. And then I took a leaf out of JP's book and bought a 355 Spider.
Okay.
Oh, did you? Did you get the Spider? Oh,
It's
wow.
sitting here.
No way, do you still have that?
I've had it since 97. I used my signing on bonus to Team Green to buy that.
Do you know what? What do you think, Dave? I think that's one of the prettiest Ferraris there's ever been.
It is. And this gets me onto, because I may have seen a little video which showcases some of your garage of Exotica. If it's not too personal, rude a question, can you just sort of walk us through a little bit? What is through the glass there in terms of your current collection?
This is one of those points where it's a really thin line between, sharing and coming across as a dick. So I apologise for those.
No.
No, mate.
This is a podcast for people who, as I say, who love cars. So you will never come across as a dick.
Yeah.
It's just that
Well,
this
not
will be a
about cars
mouth-watering.
anyway.
And not to put too fine a point on, mate, 4-time IndyCar champions, 3-time Indy 500 champion, bon viveur. And what's more is you don't buy them for other people, you buy them for yourself.
Yeah.
So please don't be ashamed.
So the closest to the garage right now is my F40.
Mm-hmm.
Bought that in 1990.
Just off the loo, I'll be back in a minute.
Yeah, I bought that in May 1999.
God, do you remember writing the check for it? I bet you did. I bet it was. Did you get on the mat?
No.
Or did you buy it off? Did you buy it off Joe?
I bought
Joe...
it. So Howard Wise found it for me.
Ah, did he?
Yeah,
I thought you were going to say it's still on drip.
It's still in the drip. Yeah, £144,000 that cost me, that car.
You are joking.
One owner, UK.
As a UK car?
UK delivered.
Mate, that stood you well, because it's 146 now. It's a couple of grand
exactly.
you've got.
Give me 150, it's yours, JP. Carrera GT.
Yeah.
I've got a Singer.
Oh, that's the car I want to talk about.
Oh,
Mate, do you still have to make sure you put the right jeans on so you don't stain the seats? Isn't that great, Dave? You can't have like new blue ones on because you might tarnish the leather.
So do you have to wear white jeans?
it's not leather, it's nubuck, which is completely like. It's one thing having a jacket made out of it. You got to stay out of rain and stuff, but it's just. I just love the material.
Yeah.
Completely. The kids aren't allowed near it.
But they are. Have you ever seen him on the flesh, Dave?
What, the singer?
The singer.
No, I've seen countless pictures in magazines.
Every single nut and bolt and every single fitting is.
I know. They're beautiful, aren't they?
Because Marino, your younger brother, he does a bit of development for them, doesn't he?
He's the, I think, chief development driver, and
he's got no hair. How can he decide what's on the new buck seats? I'm your man.
He drove my car the other day because it was in for a service, and I was like, just have a wee feeling.
Wow.
And I love their stuff.
So tell me the spec of the Singer.
So the colour is called Dixon Bronze because we joke that Scott dyes his hair, and that's the same colour as his hair dye.
Brilliant.
It's got nubuck interior.
What colour?
It's like a tan biscuit sort of nubuck. Gold wheels.
Yeah.
It's got the 4 litre.
It's a what? 4 litre.
But it's a Porsche Motorsport engine that they put in it, so it's got a bit more.
Oh my God!
Feels like the wind, and it's just mega. It's got a sunroof.
Yeah.
Because I like a sunroof, and people say, "Oh, but it's extra weight and all this." I'm like,
you've got the hair for it, son.
I get wafted along.
Aye.
So, there's an Aston V8 Vantage, an old 80s.
I saw that car when we did that thing with where I nearly crashed that JCB thing. Do you remember?
God, yes.
Do you remember that?
Not that. Yeah, that's right. God, that was so much.
Do you remember?
Fun. Yeah, that was so much fun.
Yeah, wasn't it?
That was a great day. I've got the little Integrale.
Oh, which one? Elephant car?
It is.
Is it in
Evo
Elephant Evo?
Evo
One with the little.
Yeah, it's got the little HF, the little elephant.
There we are.
And it's dark blue.
And what else? Come on, what else?
I've got a G-Wagon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
beg pardon.
Gordon hates it. He actively hates it. But it's my daily smoker.
I do. It's a what?
It's my daily smoker. I love it.
Is that what you... Honestly, do you like the ride in it?
Yeah, I love everything about it. I just smoke around it because it makes me giggle.
That's because I tell you why he likes it, because he's full of metalwork.
Right.
That's why.
Yeah. It's
He can't feel any...
You know, I go around the M25 to GMA. I just like drive around that and then park it around the corner so Gordon can't see it.
I mean, they look kind of cool, but...
You have a notable shooting brake as well, do you not, Dario?
Into that.
You know, an estate car, if you will.
JP's not seen it.
No. What's this?
I've got a Rolls-Royce Wraith one-off shooting brake. It's a custom-bodied shooting brake.
Mate, listen, I'm free tonight. Honestly, they've got this brilliant night in my local pub. You know where I live now. It's utterly amazing. They've got this guy coming in from London, and he's cooking he's an Indian guy. He's got this amazing Michelin star chef. I just need a lift for 2 miles up the road. Could you come round and shoot and break me up there?
The shooting break. It's got a roof box on it, JP.
What, like a Pope mobile?
No, it's got the skis and stuff.
Shut up.
No, it's on snow tyres. I took it to Switzerland.
What should one wear in the shooting break with the roof box on?
Jeans and a t-shirt.
Perfect. Right, mate, I'll be very ready. Because you're dead fast. I'll be ready in an hour.
All right, I'll be there. So what else? What else is around? Oh, the pace cars from Indy. When you win Indy, they give you the pace cars.
Oh, do they? Oh, wow. So what? You got 4 of them old dirty American stinkers.
I've only got 3 in mind, but I've got a 65 one from the year Jim Clark one.
Oh, wow.
Which is quite cool.
So what we want to know is if you got, because I know, and he's a hero of mine, but he's particularly a hero of yours. Do you know this? That Dario's ultimate hero, as actually anyone involved in motorsport, he should be, is Jim Clark. Mm-hmm. Have you got any of his old cars? You managed to buy anything from his?
Just sold it.
Have you?
Just sold. So I sold 2 cars. I've got a Gordon Murray T50 coming.
Wow.
And so I had a Ferrari Daytona Spider, and I had Jim's 1964 British touring car winning Lotus
Cortina.
Wow.
Shut your face.
I won 8 out of 8 races.
Why didn't you call me when that was running? Because I know touring cars. I know how it works. I was free that day.
I only drove it twice. I had it for like 10 years, and I drove it twice.
Is that right?
I used to drive it down to the coffee shop when I lived in Scotland.
Dave, I think we need word.
A private word.
He needs to come to the Vitty Plato School of Life.
He does, absolutely.
Oh, no, actually, no, correction. We need to go to the Franchitti School of Life, me and you.
So listen, here's a question for you, Dario. Imagine this ridiculous scenario. Imagine the repo man is coming round and he said that he's got to take everything in the garages, but he leaves you 1 car and 1 car only, which you have for the rest of your life. Which one is it and why?
Can I write it down on a piece of paper because I think I might know?
You can.
If only I could find a pen on my desk. I can't. So I can.
Let's just wait till Jason writes this down, Dario, and then you can give us the answer, and then let's see if it...
Oh, God, it's a British Airways first class pen which doesn't work.
Look at that.
I know what it is anyway. Dave.
Right. So there's an answer. There's 2 I guess there's 2 answers on that. The F40. And it wasn't always. It was for a long time the F40, and then I fell out of love with it. But then I send it for its summer holidays in Scotland now, and I go and drive it up there, and I've fallen back in love with it, like really.
Yeah.
And then it'll be my T50.
Yeah. Wow. I was going to say the Singer, to be honest, but I've not driven a T50, but I can imagine that is just extraordinary.
Yeah, the Singer's right up there.
I thought the Singer would be the
Me
one.
too, yeah.
The Singer's good. I mean, it breaks. I'm shit at selling cars. It breaks my heart. When I sold that Daytona Spider, I met the guy at Joe's Christmas party who'd bought my Daytona Spider, and he was like, "I'm really sorry," because I was like all emotional.
Did you really? But that's how you should feel about really beautiful cars, eh?
Of course, these things. I mean, like you, I love cars. I've loved cars since I was tiny, and it's. Yeah. I feel so privileged to own one of these. Never mind them all. And
yeah.
And so they're a big part of my life.
So we ask all our guests this, and it is me and Dave always think that music and cars go particularly well together. So we want your fancy drive. Where are you? Where are you going to? What you're listening to? But more importantly, what you're driving.
I think my fantasy drive, I'm in Scotland, and I'm going up to the northwest. I'm right up the far northwest of Scotland on one
Okay.
of those crazy roads.
Yes.
So what, beyond Ullapool, further up than
Yeah,
that?
keep going, and I'm in T33 Spider.
Ah, the little
Okay.
slightly down a bit, but still
Yeah.
wafty.
Yeah, T33 Spider. I've got my missus with me, who's the best co-pilot because she falls asleep even no matter how fast. She's
Does she really?
so chilled in the car.
I love that.
And the good thing is it's got a big old stereo in it, and I'm listening to. I think I'm probably listening to our mate JK. I'm probably listening to some Jamiroquai.
Yes.
Okay.
Some of the classic stuff, and then the new album, Heels of Steel, that he's coming out with. And that, to me, that's what those roads were. What that car, my input into that car, those were the roads for it. Top down, yes.
Will you be sporting some sort of hat? I mean, I think.
Well,
so.
like an anti-Mitch hat.
Yeah,
Would you have one of those
some
nets
full
on? Because
goggles.
I know, because the thing is, I did the North Coast 500 a couple of years ago, and Jason's done it recently, and there's a picture of me, right, outside this pub, the sun's setting, we got a lovely pint, and I've got this stupid netted hat thing on because I'm being bitten alive by midges.
That's because you've got southern blood. If you were northern like me and Jerry, they stay well away.
Fine. Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I get bitten. They come and smell Dario and go, "Oh, are we better Scots Italian? Leave them alone."
Leave him alone.
Well, do you know what? It sounds just about perfect to me, Darius, and I think on that note, Jason, you need to take us out.
Oh, do you know what? I can stay here all day and have a chat
me
like this.
too.
It's been great, hasn't it? Thank you, mate. Thank you. So that is it for this week's Fueling Around, powered by Adrian Flux. As the UK's largest specialist insurance broker, Adrian Flux will tailor a quote to your exact needs and help save you money on your car, your bike, or even your home insurance. Dave, as always, huge thanks to you. But, ladies and gents, a massive thanks to our special guest this week, the one and only, visibly challenged, Mr. Dario Franchitti.
Thanks, guys.
Dario, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much. Don't forget to press subscribe on YouTube so that you never miss an episode, or press the follow button on Apple or Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts from.
Thanks for listening, folks, and, well, we'll see you next time. Ta-da!